You're listening to Indepth SEO. In-depth conversations on how search, content, and AI really work.
Welcome to SEO Deep Dive by Indepth SEO. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sam.
You know, I was looking at the calendar this morning, and it just sort of hit me that we are staring right down the barrel of 2026.
It comes up fast, doesn't it?
It really does. And it made me think of that old philosophical question, the one about the tree in the forest.
If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Exactly that one.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling, I'm not really asking about forestry today.
I have a hunch. This sounds like it's heading towards the digital world.
It is. I'm asking about websites because we're looking at this report from Lead Walnut. And honestly, the data in here is, well, it's rude. I don't know another word for it. It's aggressively rude.
Rude is, I think, a very polite way to put it. I'd call it existential.
Existential. Okay,
Yeah.
So let's paint that picture, that existential picture. It's 2026. A user, let's say she's looking for a new piece of software. She opens up an AI.
Right. Could be anything. ChatGPT, the new Google Gemini integration. Perplexity.
Any of them. And she asks her question. The AI gives a perfect, comprehensive, beautifully formatted answer. It compares 3 different products, lists the pros and cons, maybe even gives a price range.
A perfect answer. She got exactly what she needed.
Exactly. So she nods, maybe copies the text, and then she closes the tab. The search is over.
And the websites that provided all that original information, the ones that did the research, wrote the reviews, compiled the data.
They got 0 clicks, 0 traffic, not a single session.
So that brings us right back to your tree in the forest.
It does. If an AI scrapes your site, learns from your expertise, answers a user's question perfectly, but never, ever sends you a visitor, does your website, as a business, even exist anymore?
And for a scary number of businesses, the answer is rapidly becoming no. And we are not talking about some, small dip in traffic here. That Lead Walnut report you mentioned, it's forecasting a 25% drop in organic traffic.
A 25% drop across the board by this year.
By this year. And that's just the average. You have to remember what an average means.
Right. An average means, for some people, it's way, way worse. If you're running an informational site, a review blog, an affiliate marketing business.
It could easily be 50%, 60%, maybe more. We're already seeing what they call zero-click results hitting 69%.
69. So let's just pause on that. That means nearly 7 out of every 10 searches end without a single click on a blue link. The user gets what they need in the chat window or on the results page, and they just bounce.
They're gone. The transaction information is complete, and your website was just the silent partner in the deal, the uncredited source.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for just a second here. Because, we've heard this story before. SEO is dead. Has been a headline every single year since, 2010?
At least.
Voice search was going to kill it.
Yeah.
Mobile apps were going to kill it. Social media was the final nail in the coffin, apparently. So why is this specific shift, this GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, why is this one different? Why isn't this just another false alarm?
It's a fair question because there is a lot of hype. But the reason it's different is that the fundamental mechanism of value delivery has changed.
What do you mean by that, the mechanism?
In all those previous shifts you mentioned, voice, social, apps, the search engine was still at its core a directory. It was a tool for pointing you to a destination.
It was a map.
A map, exactly. Right. Now, the search engine is the destination. The AI doesn't just point you to the library. It goes in, reads all the books for you, synthesizes the information, and comes back out to tell you what they said so you don't have to read them yourself.
And that's a monumental shift, which I guess brings us right to our mission for this deep dive. We can't just sit here and, pour one out for the blue link. We have to figure out how to survive inside that chat box.
Exactly. Panic is not a strategy. Our mission today is to move beyond just thinking about traditional SEO. We're going to dive deep into generative engine optimization, and specifically, we're going to look at the tools, the actual software, the stack that decides if your brand is even visible inside these black boxes like ChatGPT, Claude, and Google's AI overviews.
Okay, let's start there. Let's unpack this term, GEO. I feel like marketing loves a new acronym almost as much as it loves a pivot table. Is there a real functional difference between SEO and GEO, or is this just slapping a new coat of paint on the same old thing.
It's a genuinely distinct discipline. And to really understand why, I want to pull from the Jotform blog source we have because they lay this out perfectly.
Okay, lay it on me.
So with traditional SEO search engine optimization, the goal has always been simple. Rank high in a list. You want to be number 1, number 2, maybe top 3 on the SERP.
So you get the click.
So you get the click. The entire game is about getting that click. The format is a web page. You are optimizing a tangible thing, a web page to be found and clicked on.
Right, and your metrics are all about that click. Your tracking sessions, users, bounce rate, time on page.
Exactly. Now let's contrast that with GEO. The goal here isn't necessarily a click. I mean, clicks are great, we still want them, but it's not the primary goal. The primary goal is to be cited.
Cited? You mean like a footnote in a research paper?
Precisely like that. The format isn't a list of web pages anymore. It's a conversational text answer, a block of text. And because of that, the metric changes completely. It's not just about raw traffic anymore. The new key metric is share of voice.
Share of voice. So how often does the AI mention you when people ask about your industry or your products?
That's it. Are you part of the conversation? And that is a huge, huge mental shift for marketers. Because if you provide the core information for an answer, but the user never clicks, how do you measure success? How do you justify your budget?
That's where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to that zero-click phenomenon we mentioned from the marketer milk and lead walnut sources.
It does. And this is where we find a really fascinating paradox. The data clearly shows that AI summaries, on average, reduce click-through rates. The drop is somewhere between 34 and 46%.
And that's the scary part. That's the part that makes the headlines and causes panic. A 46% drop in traffic would kill a lot of businesses.
It would. However, and this is the crucial part that gets missed, if you can actually manage to appear in that AI overview, if you are the one who gets cited as the authority with the little link next to your name,
Then what happened?
then your click-through rate can actually increase by a staggering 219%.
Whoa, hang on a second. 219%. That sounds too good to be true. I mean, how is that even possible if we just said zero-click searches are at 69%?
Yeah.
The math feels broken.
It feels broken, but it makes sense when you think about the consolidation of attention.
Explain that. Consolidation of attention.
Think about the old Google results page. You had 10 blue links, right? Plus ads, maybe a map pack. People also asked boxes. The user's attention, and therefore their clicks, were spread out across all those options.
Right. The classic golden triangle heat maps. The number 1 result got maybe 30% of the clicks, number 2 got 15, number 3 got 10, and so on down the page.
Exactly. The traffic was distributed. But in an AI-generated answer, there aren't 10 options. There's the answer itself and then maybe 1, 2, or 3 prominent citations. That's it. So if the user does decide they need more information and want to click, they have drastically fewer choices.
Ah, I see. So it's a much smaller pie, but the winner of that pie gets a much, much larger slice.
A massively larger slice. It's a true winner-take-all economy. Being the number 1 cited source means you get almost all of the referral traffic from that query. Being the number 4 result used to get you some scraps.
Yeah, a few percentage points of traffic.
In GEO, being number 4 means you aren't even mentioned in the generated text. You effectively don't exist for that search.
That makes perfect sense. It's like being the main source cited in a Wikipedia article. If I really care about the topic, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and click that reference link. But if I'm just skimming, I'll trust the summary. But that one source gets all the glory.
That's a perfect analogy, and we have to start thinking about the buyer journey in this new context. It is not linear anymore. We see B2B buyers, in particular, using multiple AI channels for research.
What does that look like?
They might start in Perplexity to get a broad overview of a market. Then they might go to ChatGPT to ask for a direct comparison between 2 specific vendors. Compare vendor A and vendor B on pricing and integration capabilities.
And the AI spits out a nice little table.
A perfect table. And the buyer's research might end right there without ever visiting a single website because the AI gave them the exact comparison they needed.
So if I'm vendor C, and I'm not even in that comparison table that ChatGPT generated,
You're completely invisible. You were never even part of the consideration set. You lost the deal before you even knew a deal was happening.
that is genuinely terrifying from a business perspective. Okay, so this brings us to the really practical part of this, the actionable stuff. In the old days, if I wanted to know where I ranked, I'd just open an incognito window and Google myself.
Right, the classic ego search. We all did it.
We all did it. So how does a brand know if ChatGPT is recommending them now? You can't just sit there and type in prompts all day, can you? Seems like an impossible task. And given that these models are non-deterministic, wouldn't the answer change every time anyway?
It does. It absolutely changes. It can vary based on the context of the conversation, the specific model version being used, personalization data, and even just, random variance in the model's output. It's impossible to track manually at any kind of scale.
So what's the solution?
This is where we're seeing the birth of a completely new category of software.
Yeah.
AI visibility trackers, or GEO trackers.
Okay, let's get into these tools. Because if I can't Google myself anymore, I need a new mirror. We have a whole stack of them to discuss. Let's start with the one that claims to be a free GEO tool. That's Mangol's AI Search Grader.
It is, and for anyone listening who is feeling a bit overwhelmed, this is probably the best place to start. Think of it as a quick sanity check. A thermometer.
Is this just another rank tracker with a fancy AI label slapped on it?
Yeah.
What's it actually doing under the hood?
It's actually quite a bit more sophisticated than that. You give it a query, a prompt you want to test, and it runs that prompt in real time across 8 different large language models simultaneously.
8 of them. Which ones?
Well, we're talking the big ones, of course, ChatGPT and Claude. But it also queries Perplexity, Sonar, DeepSeek, Grok, Gemini, Mistral, and Llama. It gives you a really broad view of the AI landscape.
And it just aggregates all of that into one place.
Yes, it digests all the outputs and gives you a single, simple metric, an AI search score from 0 to 100.
Hold on there for a second. AI search score immediately sounds like one of those proprietary black box metrics that marketing tools invent to make you feel bad about your performance so you upgrade to the paid plan.
I get the skepticism, but it's actually calculated in a pretty clever and transparent way. It's a weighted average based on a few different factors.
Okay, break it down for me.
So first is visibility. This is a simple yes or no. Does your brand name appear anywhere in the text response from the AI?
Simple enough.
Second is ranking. If the AI provides a numbered or bulleted list of sources or citations, where do you fall on that list? Are you first?
Third, buried at the bottom.
Okay, so far that sounds a lot like classic SEO ranking factors.
Yeah.
Position 1 is better than position 3.
It is, but here's the really clever part, the secret sauce. They weight the final score by the market share of the AI model.
Okay, now that's interesting. So a prominent mention in ChatGPT is worth way more points in your final score than a mention in, say, Mistral. Exactly right, because, let's be honest, if you're dominating the conversation in Llama 2, but you're completely invisible in GPT-4, you are the king of an empty castle. The Mangol's tool normalizes that for you. It reflects reality. A top ranking in ChatGPT is weighted much higher because that's where the vast majority of users actually are.
That makes it a much more useful real-world metric.
Mm-hmm.
But does it tell you why you ranked, or just that you ranked? What's the so what?
And that's the key limitation of the free version. It really is a thermometer. It'll tell you if you have a fever, if you're sick or healthy, but it won't necessarily diagnose the specific virus. It gives you the what, not the deep why.
But it's still a starting point.
It's a critical starting point, and the key feature for building a strategy is that it helps you identify which prompts are performing well. You can test a dozen different questions your customers might ask and see which ones trigger a mention of your brand. It lets you start building a map of your visibility.
So I can benchmark against my competitors, see what questions they're showing up for that I'm not.
Precisely. It turns an unknown black box into a field you can start to measure.
Okay, so Mangol's is the quick free checkup. But what if I'm a marketing manager at a larger company and I need deep, ongoing analytics? I saw another tool in our research stack called Peak AI. The name is memorable.
Yes, Peak AI. It certainly stands out, but the technology behind it is very serious. They are focused on a metric that they call share of chat.
Share of chat. I actually like that phrase. It feels cleaner and more specific than the old share of voice.
It is. It's more accurate for this medium. And they track the same things as Mangol's, like visibility and position, but they add a critical third layer to their analysis.
Which is?
Sentiment.
So now that is interesting. So it's not just if you get mentioned, but how you get mentioned.
Exactly. This is a game changer. Is the AI recommending your product enthusiastically? Is it presenting you in a neutral, factual way? Or, and this is the nightmare scenario, is it actively warning the user about you?
Give me an example of that nightmare scenario.
Imagine you sell accounting software. A user asks ChatGPT to compare you to a competitor. The AI might generate an answer that says, Company X offers a robust set of features, however. It's important to note that many users in online forums have complained about their confusing billing practices and surprise fees.
Oof. That would be an absolute disaster for the sales team.
I
And you would have no idea it was happening unless you were tracking this.
None at all. And you can't fix that problem just by stuffing more keywords into your blog posts. That's a fundamental reputation issue that the AI has learned from scraping the web. You have to address the actual problem.
It forces you to be a better company, not just a better marketer.
It really does. There was a great quote in the Peak AI source material from Crystal Carter, the head of SEO comms. She pointed out that this kind of tool allows brands to pinpoint the exact piece of content that is being surfaced by the large language models.
Why is that so important?
Yeah.
I mean, beyond just knowing.
Because it closes the loop. If you know that ChatGPT is consistently pulling a specific statistic from your 2024 industry report or citing a paragraph from a particular blog post, you know that piece of content is a strategic asset.
So you can double down on it.
You can double down. You can update it to keep it fresh. You can make sure the facts are still 100% accurate. You can expand it. It tells you exactly what the AI considers to be your most authoritative content, so you can nurture it.
That's incredibly actionable.
Yep.
Okay, let's move up the food chain a bit. We have a couple of tools here that seem to be aimed squarely at the enterprise level. I'm looking at Profound and ZipTie.
These are definitely the heavy hitters for large organizations. Profound, as our Zapier source mentioned, is really focused on the complex needs of an enterprise. They track all the standard citations, of course, but they have a really interesting feature focused on ChatGPT shopping.
ChatGPT shopping. I thought the e-commerce and shopping features in these models were still pretty beta, pretty clunky.
They are evolving at a breathtaking pace. We're moving beyond simple informational queries. People aren't just asking, what is a good running shoe? They're starting to ask, find me a size 10 neutral cushioned running shoe under $100 that's available for delivery by Friday.
That's a transactional query. That's a buyer with intent.
High intent. And Profound helps you track whether your specific products are showing up in that shopping graph. It helps you understand what the AI sees about you on a SKU level, not just a brand level. For a major e-commerce player, that's mission-critical data.
That's huge.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the plumbing for a second, the technical foundation for all of this. We mentioned ZipTie and the idea of an audit. I think a lot of people just assume that if Google can crawl their site, then ChatGPT can crawl their site too.
That is a very common and very dangerous assumption.
Why? What's the difference? A bot is a bot, right?
Not at all. They use completely different user agents. Google's crawler famously identifies itself as Googlebot, but OpenAI's crawler identifies itself as GPTBot or OAI SearchBot. Anthropic has its own. Perplexity has its own.
And I'm guessing a lot of corporate firewalls and robots.txt files that were set up a couple of years ago are explicitly blocking those new agents.
Thousands and thousands of them. You have to think back to the mindset of 2023. IT directors and legal departments were terrified of their proprietary data being scraped to train these commercial AI models without compensation. So the default reaction was block everything.
They put up the barricades.
Exactly. But now, in 2026, that defensive move has effectively become a suicide pact for your brand's visibility. ZipTie's indexation audit is designed specifically to solve this. It simulates those specific LLM crawlers to see if your own security systems are slamming the door in the face of the only visitor that now matters.
So you could have the best content in the world, the highest domain authority, perfect EEAT signals, but you've essentially put a do not disturb sign on your front door, and the AI just moves on to your competitor.
Precisely. You don't even know you're invisible. ZipTie helps you catch that critical, fundamental error. They also roll all this up into their own proprietary metric, an AI success score, to quantify how healthy and accessible your site is for these specific bots.
Before we move on from this category, I want to touch on one more tool because it solves a very specific problem that, honestly, I hadn't even considered. Rank scale.
Ah, yes, the geography problem, the issue of localization.
Right. We all know that traditional search results are local. If I search for best pizza here in New York, I get a completely different set of results than if I search for it in Chicago. Is AI the same way?
It's not as pronounced yet, but it's absolutely getting there. The AI models are being fine-tuned with regional data. The information they retrieve to answer a query can vary based on the user's location. The Whatagraph source praised RankScale specifically for its region-specific tracking.
So do you mean a practical example of that?
Sure. Let's say you're a global financial services company. A user in London asks an AI about the best tax-advantaged investment accounts. The AI might pull information about ISAs, which are specific to the UK. A user in the United States asking the same question should get information about 401ks and IRAs. If your content isn't visible to the AI in the right regional context, you're irrelevant.
So Rank Scale lets you track those specific search terms by region and by engine to make sure your global strategy is actually working locally.
Exactly. And they have a slightly different business model that's worth noting. They operate on a credit-based system rather than a flat monthly subscription.
Why is that a big deal?
It's great for agencies or consultants. You might not need to track 500 keywords every single day. You might just need to run a huge in-depth audit for a new client once and then check in quarterly. The credit model gives you that flexibility without paying for idle software.
Okay, so this new ecosystem of specialized GEO tools is clearly booming. We've got free checkers, sentiment analyzers, enterprise auditors. But I have to ask the big question. What about the giants? I mean, almost everyone listening to this in the SEO world is already using SEMrush or Ahrefs.
Or both?
Or both. I pay my monthly tithe to SEMrush religiously. Are they just sitting this one out? Or are these massive platforms suddenly becoming obsolete?
Absolutely not. You don't get to be that big by ignoring a seismic shift like this. They are pivoting, and they are pivoting hard. They're integrating AI and GEO, tracking directly into their already behemoth platforms.
So the argument is, if you're already paying for their ecosystem, you might not need to buy a separate specialized tool.
That's the value proposition, yes. Let's start with SEMrush. They've always been the Swiss Army knife of digital marketing.
They do a million things. What are they doing specifically for GEO?
They've launched a suite they're calling the SEMrush Enterprise AIO, or the AI SEO Toolkit. It's fully baked into their existing dashboards. They're tracking share of voice in AI answers relative to your competitors, just like the specialized tools. They're also doing sentiment analysis, breaking down mentions into positive, negative, and neutral categories.
So they've got the core tracking covered.
Oh.
But I saw they have a specific feature called Copilot. That sounds either incredibly helpful or potentially very annoying. Which one is it?
From what we're seeing, it's actually very helpful. Think of it less as a tool and more as an AI-powered project manager or analyst.
What does it do?
It constantly analyzes all of your project data within SEMrush, your keyword rankings, your site's technical health, your backlink profile, all of it. And it uses AI to offer daily prioritized recommendations.
So instead of me having to stare at 20 different dashboards and try to figure out what's important, it just tells me what to do.
Exactly. You log in the morning, and Copilot might say, hey, forget about writing a new blog post today. We've detected a critical technical issue that's blocking GPT-bot from crawling 30% of your product pages. Fix this first. Here's how. It cuts through the noise and prioritizes the workflow based on impact.
That's a huge value add, because data paralysis is a real thing with these tools.
Overwhelming is an understatement. The sheer volume of data these platforms spit out can be paralyzing. Copilot is designed to act as a filter, turning that data into a simple, actionable to-do list.
Okay, what about SE ranking? I know they're very popular, especially with agencies and small to medium businesses. How are they adapting?
They are, and they've taken a very focused approach with their AI Overview Tracker. This tool is specifically designed to monitor Google's AI overviews, which was formerly known as SGE.
So they're betting that Google's implementation is the one that matters most.
For many businesses, it will be. And their tool lets you do a crucial side-by-side comparison. Your traditional organic ranking versus your ranking or inclusion in the AI overview for the same keyword.
And that's a critical comparison to make, because you could be ranking #1 organically, feeling great about your SEO, but be totally absent from the AI summary that sits above it.
Precisely. And if 90% of users read that AI summary and leave, your #1 organic ranking becomes a complete vanity metric. It looks great on a report you send to your boss, but it's not actually driving any business value. SE ranking makes that disconnect impossible to ignore.
Do they have any other standout features in this area?
They do. They have a really interesting forecasting feature. It uses machine learning to predict dynamic traffic flow based on your current rankings and historical click-through rate data. It tries to answer the question, if we improve our AI overview visibility for this keyword cluster, what is the likely impact on our bottom line?
Prediction is the holy grail for any marketing department. But there was one more feature mentioned in the Namecheap source that seemed counterintuitive. It was called anti-AI detection.
Ah, yes. That one always makes people pause.
It does. Wait, what? Anti-AI? Isn't the entire point of everything we're discussing to be friendly to AI? Why would I want an anti-AI tool?
It sounds backwards, but it's actually very clever. The goal of the tool isn't to block AI. It's to help humanize your content.
Humanize it.
Yes. The tool scans your text to make sure it doesn't sound like it was written by a lazy, generic AI. Ironically, the big AI models like GPT-4 are being trained to prefer authentic, human-sounding content. They're getting very good at filtering out what the community calls slop, that generic, robotic, soulless text that flooded the internet.
So you're using an AI to check if you sound human enough to please another AI.
Welcome to 2026. It's a deeply ironic but necessary feedback loop.
Okay, and finally in this category of the big players, let's talk about RFs. They've always been the gold standard for backlink data. What's their play?
RFs is leveraging their strength. They've introduced tools like Brand Radar and Content Helper. Brand Radar is focused on what they call AI intent classification and, of course, backlink auditing, which is their home turf. But their Content Helper is where their GEO strategy really shines. It's built around the idea of topical coverage rather than old-school keyword density.
Okay, you have to explain the difference there. Topical coverage versus keyword density. Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay. Keyword density is the old way. It's about mechanics. It says, if you want to rank for best running shoes, you need to use the exact phrase, best running shoes, 5 times in your article. It's very literal.
Just stuffing the keyword in.
Right. Topical coverage is about concepts. It says, if you are an expert writing a comprehensive article about the best running shoes, you wouldn't just repeat that phrase. You would naturally also talk about arch support, heel drop, sole durability, breathable mesh, and pronation control.
Because a real human expert would instinctively cover all those related topics.
Exactly. RF's Content Helper analyzes the top-ranking content and tells you which of these related topics or entities are missing from your article. It ensures you cover the entire concept completely, which is what these large language models are looking for. They understand semantic relationships, not just exact keyword matching.
Got it. That's a much more sophisticated way to think about content. And it leads us perfectly into the next major section. We've figured out how to track if we exist. We know if the AI can see us. Now, the big question, how do we actually change our content so the AI likes it better? How do we write for the machines?
This is the entire discipline of content optimization in the GEO era. And the core technology here is NLP, natural language processing. We're essentially using the AI's own tools against it to create content that machines can understand and value.
And this isn't just about throwing keywords at a page and hoping they stick anymore.
No, that's 2010 SEO. This is about identifying the entities and concepts that an AI associates with a given topic. The new wave of content optimization tools analyze the top results for a query and tell you exactly what concepts are missing from your own content.
So who are the big players in this space? Where should people start?
The tool that's often described as the gold standard in the sources, like the Rankability blog, is Surfer SEO.
I feel like I see the Surfer SEO logo everywhere. They have great marketing.
They do. And the product is very powerful. Its core feature is a real-time content score that you see in a sidebar as you write. It's constantly telling you things like, hey, your content score is only 65. Your top 3 competitors all talk about battery life and you haven't mentioned it yet. Add that concept to improve your score.
So it's like having an SEO coach looking over your shoulder while you type.
It is. It kind of gamifies the content creation process, but they also have a feature that's more strategic called Grow Flow.
Grow Flow. Sounds like a brand of fertilizer or a yoga pose.
It does, but what it actually does is run in the background, constantly analyzing your existing website content. It proactively suggests opportunities like, hey, this old blog post is starting to get traffic for a new keyword. You should add a section about that topic and add an internal link from this other relevant page. It helps you keep your existing content fresh and relevant.
And they have a full AI writer now too, right?
A very powerful one. It can generate entire SEO-optimized articles based on its analysis of the current SERP data.
But I saw a challenger in the mix in our research, a tool called Rankability. And they make a very bold claim that they're better and more accurate than Surfer. What's their argument?
It is a bold claim because Surfer is so dominant. Their unique selling proposition, coming directly from the Rankability source, is that they combine 2 different NLP engines for their analysis, IBM Watson and Google's own NRP API.
IBM Watson. Wow, that's some serious enterprise-level computing power. Why do they need 2 engines? Isn't Google's good enough?
Their argument is that by using both, they get a more accurate and robust understanding of how language and semantic relationships work. Different NLP models have different strengths and interpret language in slightly different ways. By using 2, they can essentially triangulate the true meaning and importance of different concepts.
So they claim their recommendations for what terms to include are more accurate.
That's the claim. They also lean heavily into a coaching and training angle. Their interface is designed to be good for agencies that need to train junior writers on the principles of semantic SEO, not just give them a score to hit.
Interesting. Now, these tools sound powerful, but I know Surfer, in particular, can get pretty pricey, especially if you have a whole team of writers. What if I'm on a tighter budget?
For the budget-conscious marketer or the solo entrepreneur, the Neuron Writer source highlights a tool called Neuron Writer. It offers incredible value, with plans starting around $19 a month.
19 bucks a month is very hard to beat. Is it just a stripped-down clone, or does it actually work?
It genuinely works. It's built on the same core principles of semantic SEO. It analyzes the SERPs, identifies important entities and terms, and gives you a content editor to work in. It might not have all the fancy UI polish or the advanced features of Surfer, but the underlying logic cover these related concepts to Rankner is absolutely solid.
So it's a great entry point into NLP-driven content creation.
Absolutely. And in that same affordable category, we should probably mention Contadoo. It has a slightly different focus.
Contadoo. How is it different?
It's positioned more as a strategic planning tool. It's particularly good for planning out large topical maps or content clusters. If your strategy is to create a massive hub-and-spoke model with one central pillar page and 100 supporting articles, Contadoo is great at helping you visualize that entire map and ensure you don't have any content gaps.
I see. So it's for planning the whole forest, not just optimizing a single tree.
A perfect way to put it. And there's one last one in this content optimization space we should touch on. ClearScope. I've heard this is the choice for serious, no-nonsense enterprise teams. That's their reputation. ClearScope is all about straightforward, highly accurate content optimization using Google's NLP. There's less gamification, fewer bells and whistles. It's a professional tool for professional writers. It provides a very rigorous content grading system.
But its main differentiator seems to be a heavy focus on what they call content inventory. What does that mean?
If you're a large enterprise, you might have a blog with 10,000 articles going back a decade. A lot of that content is probably decaying. It's outdated, its rankings are slipping. This is called content rot. ClearScope has robust features for tracking the performance of every single page on your site over time, so you can easily identify which articles need an update or a refresh. It helps you protect your existing assets, not just create new ones.
That's a huge problem for big companies. Okay, so we've covered the whole workflow. We have tools to track our visibility, and we have tools to optimize our content. But I'm lazy, or rather, let's say I'm efficient.
Efficient. Let's go with efficient. I like that better.
What about the tools that just do the work for me? The automation layer. The marketer milk source talked about this agentic future where the tools become teammates.
This is where things start to feel like science fiction, but it's happening right now. We're moving from tools that help you do your work to autonomous agents that work alongside you. Have you heard of a tool called Gumloop?
Gumloop, no. It sounds like a brand of candy.
It does, but it's being described as the Zapier of AI.
Okay, that I understand. Zapier connects different apps together. If this happens in my email, then do that in my spreadsheet.
Right. Zapier connects the apps, but Gumloop allows you to use AI to process the information between the apps. It lets you drag and drop to build complex AI workflows without writing a single line of code.
Okay, give me a concrete example. What's a workflow I could build?
Let's imagine you build a competitor watch agent. You could build a flow that says, every Monday at 9 a.m., go to my top 3 competitors' pricing pages. Scrape all the text from those pages. Feed that text into Claude to summarize any changes from last week. If there was a price change, feed the old price and the new price into GPT-4 and ask it to analyze the strategic impact on our business. Then, write a summary email in my voice and send it to the sales and marketing leadership team.
And you can build that whole chain of events just by dragging and dropping blocks.
That's the promise. No coding required. It's about connecting the powerful reasoning capabilities of these LLMs directly to your internal data and operations.
That's not just automation anymore. That's an autonomous AI employee.
That's exactly what an agent is. It's about operationalizing AI to perform complex, multi-step tasks.
So what about the content creation side of automation? There's WriteSonic. I know they've been an AI writer for a while, but what are they doing that's new?
They're still a leader in AI writing with tools like ChatSonic and their AI Article Writer 6.0. But the key insight for using these tools effectively comes from Victoria Kurchenko in our source material. She points out that success with these platforms now depends entirely on training.
Training the AI. Do you mean I have to become a machine learning engineer and fine-tune a model?
No, not at all. It's much simpler than that. It's about training it on your brand voice. You can't just go into an AI writer and say, write a blog post about digital marketing, the output you'll get is generic, soulless fluff that everyone has already read 1,000 times.
The slop we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Right Sonic allows you to upload your brand guidelines. You can feed it your past articles, your mission statement, examples of your best writing. You create a voice profile, so when it generates new content, it doesn't sound like a generic robot. It sounds like you.
And that is the crucial difference between creating spam and creating valuable content.
It is the only difference that matters. And they're also taking a multi-model approach. Their workflow integrates GPT-4, Claude, and Gemini. So you can choose the best brain for a specific task, all within one interface.
There's one more automation tool I want to mention because it directly addresses that technical nightmare we discussed earlier. The tool is Alley AI.
Ah, yes. The tool that makes the promise every marketer dreams of hearing. Real-time on-page SEO without developer involvement.
That is the dream, because every marketer listening to this knows the pain of being stuck in a developer's ticket queue for 6 months just to get a meta tag updated.
Alley AI's solution is really clever. It works by having you install a single piece of code on your site, much like you would for Google Tag Manager or a marketing analytics tool.
So it's like a JavaScript overlay that sits on top of the existing site.
Exactly. And through that overlay, Alley AI can make changes in real time. It can rewrite your page titles, dynamically insert and optimize your schema markup, and even bulk optimize your site's code for speed and crawlability, all without your team ever having to touch the legacy backend code.
That is wild. So it's basically like putting a layer of digital makeup on your website that makes it look perfect to the search engine robots, even if the structure underneath is old and messy.
That's a great way to think about it. And for large enterprise sites built on clunky legacy systems that are almost impossible to change, this kind of tool can be an absolute lifesaver.
So we have covered an incredible toolbox. It is deep. We've got trackers, optimizers, automators, agents, but we both know that tools are useless without a coherent strategy.
Right. As the old saying goes, a fool with a tool is still a fool.
So let's bring it all together. If someone listening to this deep dive wants to ensure their business exists in 2026 search, what is the actual strategy? How do we influence this AI black box?
We need to synthesize the advice from all the sources here, especially Exposure Ninja and Jotform. And it really boils down to 5 key strategic pillars.
Okay, lay them on me. What's pillar number 1?
Number 1, and this is the most important, authority is paramount. These AI models are being designed by massive corporations that are terrified of lawsuits and spreading misinformation. They are programmed to be safe and accurate above all else.
So they're risk averse.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Which means they will always try to cite trusted, authoritative sources. And the strongest signal of trust on the web is still, and will likely continue to be, backlinks. Citations from other respected websites.
So all the talk of link building being dead was wrong.
It was dead wrong. It just evolved. It's less about quantity and all about quality. You need to be using modern outreach tools like Respona or Pitchbox, which were mentioned in the sources, to build relationships and earn links from the kind of sites the AI already respects.
Okay, so authority through links is number 1. What's pillar 2?
Pillar 2 is digital PR. This is very closely related to link building, but it's broader. You need to get your brand name and your experts mentioned in the places the AI reads for its training data.
So you're trying to inject your brand into the corpus.
That's exactly what you're doing. If the AI is constantly scraping the New York Times, TechCrunch, and major industry publications, and it keeps seeing your brand mentioned positively in those sources, it learns that you are a legitimate and important player in your space. You become part of its foundational knowledge.
That makes a lot of sense. On to number 3.
Number 3 is a bit more of a conceptual idea, but it's crucial. It's understanding the difference between implicit versus explicit mentions. This concept comes from the Wellows source.
Okay, explain that distinction.
An explicit citation is the gold standard. That's when the AI answer says, according to Indepth SEO, and there's a nice blue link right there that a user can click.
That's what we want. We get the credit and potentially the click.
Right. But an implicit mention is when the AI uses your information to help form its answer, but it doesn't link to you directly. It might synthesize facts from 3 sources, including yours, and then just state the conclusion. It might say, most experts agree that, and your expertise contributed to that consensus.
So you influenced the answer, but you didn't get the direct credit for it. Why is that important to track?
Because the Wellows source argues you need to track both. Implicit mentions are a measure of your true influence. They build the general sentiment and vibe around your brand in the AI's mind. Even if they don't drive a direct click, they are establishing you as part of the consensus, which makes it more likely you'll get an explicit citation next time.
I see. It's like building subliminal brand awareness with the AI. Okay, pillar number 4.
Pillar number 4 is EEAT. We have to talk about Google's favorite acronym: experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. This concept is arguably more important for AI visibility than it ever was for traditional SEO.
Why more important?
Because, again, these models are desperate to filter out fake news, AI-generated slop, and low-quality advice. You need to prove that your content comes from real humans with real experience. This means detailed author bios, listing credentials, citing sources, and writing about firsthand experiences.
So don't just use WriteSonic to generate a generic article about a topic. Have a real credentialed expert on your team review it, edit it, add their personal insights, and put their name on it.
That is the perfect workflow. The human element validates the AI-assisted content. The AI wants to cite a human expert, not another AI.
And that brings us to the final pillar. What's number 5?
Number 5 is building the brand entity. This is about teaching the AI, in no uncertain terms, who you are. This goes back to the concept of the knowledge graph. We mentioned a tool called WordLift in the sources that helps with this.
So what does that mean in practical terms?
It means having consistent information about your brand across the entire web. Your company name, address, phone number, founders' names, core products, all of it needs to be consistent. More importantly, you need to use structured data or schema markup on your website to explicitly label this information for the bots. You tell them, this string of text is a product name. This number is its price. This is its average rating.
You're essentially writing the name tag that you want the AI to read so there's no confusion.
You're writing its encyclopedia entry about you. If the AI is confused about who you are or what you do, it will not cite you because it's a risk. Clarity is currency in the world of GEO.
Wow, okay. This has been a lot, but a lot in a really, really good way.
It's a brave new world, isn't it? The rules are being rewritten as we speak.
They really are. So just to recap this whole journey we've been on today, we've moved from the old familiar world of ranking number 1 on Google to the new uncertain world of being the answer inside an AI chat.
A fundamental shift in the goal of search marketing.
We looked at the new wave of tools like Mangools and Peak AI that help us just see if we're visible, and we learned that things like market share weighting and sentiment analysis are the new critical metrics.
Right, moving beyond just position tracking.
We saw how the giants like SEMrush and Ahrefs are adapting with features like AI-powered co-pilots and a focus on topical coverage. We dove into content optimization with tools like Surfer and Rankability, and we peek into the future with agentic automation from tools like Gumloop.
It's a complete ecosystem shift. From strategy to execution to measurement.
It is. But before we wrap up, I have one final provocative thought for you and for everyone listening.
All right, let's hear it.
If we follow this trend to its logical conclusion, if AI gets so good that it answers every question perfectly, right there in the chat box, without needing to send traffic to websites, what happens to the websites? Do they just die? What is the ultimate end game here?
That is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? My take. I don't think websites will die, but their function will fundamentally change. Perhaps websites as we know them become essentially training data libraries. Their primary purpose will be to feed and influence the AI models.
So their audience is the bot, not the human.
In a way, yes. The homepage of the future might not be a URL you type into a browser. The homepage of the future might just be a prompt in a chat box.
Right.
The winners in that future, the brands that thrive. They will be the ones who figured out how to insert their brand, their ideas, and their products into the conversation, not just into the search results.
Being part of the conversation. I really like that framing.
It's all about influence, not just indexing anymore.
So with that in mind, here is our challenge to you, the listener. Don't let this hour of conversation overwhelm you. Don't feel like you need to go out and buy 10 new tools tomorrow. Just take one small step.
Start simple.
Start simple. Go use that free Mangools AI search grader we talked about at the very beginning. Just type in your brand name or your main product, ask a question your customer would ask. Just see if you exist in the eyes of an AI today. The answer might surprise you.
And if you find out that you don't exist, well, you now have a roadmap for how to start.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you in the future.
Thanks for listening to In-Depth SEO. If this episode added a new perspective, visit indepthseo.com for more thoughtful conversations on how search really works.